Alrighty, hey, how's it going? So, my name is Tanner, and welcome to something that I'm not completely sure what it's going to look like yet. But in essence, this is going to be the series where I show you guys the A3 Quattro build. So, a little bit about myself. I figured we should kind of start with that, right? So, my name is Tanner. I have been racing pretty much my whole life. Same thing with building cars. So, as a kid, Dad was big into vintage Mustangs. That then translated into Chinese Honda kart racing. I did Chinese Honda kart racing for a long time. As I kind of worked up later into my childhood and stuff, eventually got into vintage racing with my dad. Occasionally, if I was lucky enough, I got to do a open track and things along those lines. That then spun into open road racing, and then yeah, that was that. Pretty much vintage Mustangs, a little bit of GT350R type stuff. So vintage Mustangs and new Mustangs, a little bit all in between. But all throughout that time, spent all the years learning and figuring out how wrenching works, right? So you can kind of see, allegedly, there's some car stuff going on, but all those years of wrenching ultimately culminated in college, which meant that I was broke and could afford literally nothing. So I consolidated vehicles and pretty much put my nose to the grindstone, and that's been that. So once I got out of school, that's now been about 4 years ago or so, I started getting back into racing a little bit, and that's whenever I bought my, well, I guess I kind of skipped ahead a little bit. So anyway, long story short, in college, consolidated vehicles a little bit, and then I got into Volkswagens, which, awful idea. Don't do this, right? If you're a new or aspiring car enthusiast, I highly recommend not getting into Volkswagens. Like, I know James Pumphrey in the Speed Channel, like, it's awesome, right? They're like, oh yeah, go buy a Golf. It's going to be the greatest thing ever. It is until you realize that, like, all of these cars have so many weird things. Like, go buy a Toyota or a Honda, right? You will have way more fun for similar money, and they're easier to work on. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent, but I bought my first Volkswagen in, oh God, it was probably around 2017, 2018. It was a B6 Passat wagon, and it was hella sweet. I'm going to put in a picture here because I think we should all stop and enjoy a wagon for a moment. So the wagon was my first Volkswagen, and honestly, crack cocaine. That car was way too cool, right? And of course, some of you guys are going, oh my God, that thing is ugly. It looks like a hearse. I don't care. I loved it to death, right? Things that I loved about it. Wagon, fit everything you want and some. B, VR6. If you're a Volkswagen guy, you know that, oh my God, that is great. It was a big block VR6. It was a 3.6 VR6. And then lastly, it had all-wheel drive. So it was a 4Motion VR6 DSG Passat wagon. And damn it, I love that car. It was just fantastic, right? So college happened. I ended up selling the wagon to get into airplanes, which is another complete tangent that I will go into in a different time. But anyway, got out of school, had no Volkswagens, wanted more Volkswagens. I was really lucky. I went to engineering school, right? So I got an engineering degree. I came out and I was making okay money as I got out of school. So I ended up getting into my first, I would say, like, big boy car, right? Which was my 2017 Golf R. So I'm going to put some pictures up right here because that car is just awesome. So the R was dumb. And honestly, someday I need to sit down and just record the story of buying that thing because it was just ridiculous, right? I'm just moving around the camera here a little bit, sorry. But it was just ridiculous, right? I bought it from a guy who had spent a ton of money on it, promptly went to prison, came back from prison, and then decided he couldn't afford it, which makes total sense whenever I tell that story. So like I said, that'll be a different thing. But anyway, so I bought that car, and it was crazy. Hybrid turbo, 4 additional fuel injectors, methanol injected, tuned by a really nice company called United Motorsports. They were super rad, and that car made stupid horsepower and was stupid fun. The only challenge was it fit literally no class I ever wanted to race in. Being a circuit track guy, my initial experience with racing was going around corners, right? And so I love going around corners. That's what I enjoy to do. So as I got the car out and I started doing more and more autocross and stuff with it, I realized very quickly the car was not classed are basically not classable, right? So racing is fun, and unless you're not racing anyone, in which case you're basically just racing yourself. And when you don't have much to compare against it can get kind of dry. So that was the story of the R. So raced the R quite a bit. I actually did. So I did a lot of autocross. I did a couple bracket races. The car is wicked fast on a drag strip. Hopefully, I'll be able to overlay some pictures in there too. And then finally did a couple open track events with it. And the open track events were awesome. And I kind of thought to myself, okay, like whenever I get to a place where I'm a little bit more financially secure and everything's good to go, like that's what I want to do. I want to do more open track stuff, right? And the natural progression, if you know anything about open track racing, is either time trial or wheel-to-wheel racing. And wheel-to-wheel racing is great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's awesome. It's remarkably fun. The challenge is it's really expensive. That's a principal one. And B, the wheel-to-wheel contact is just a facet of the sport. You should expect to hit somebody, rub fenders, stuff like that when you're wheel-to-wheel racing, right? And I knew that if I was going to build a car, I didn't want to build a car that was going to just get torn to bits, right? So that kind of pushed me into, okay, well, I want to build a time trial car. That's the goal, right? Well, anyway, decided I want to build a time trial car. That was going to be it. All right, I'm going to set you guys up here because I think I can do that. Here we go. So I wanted to build a time trial car. That was the goal, right? And so roughly at the time I was driving the R, my mom, this is where this car comes from, so forgive me for a second. But my mom, who had this Audi A3 Quattro, right? She had bought it used with very low miles, I think in like 2017, I think. She had bought this car. No, it might have been 16. I think it was new. Anyway, she had bought this car and driven the wheels off of it, right? She had gotten it to about 100,000 miles, or maybe more like 91. I think it was 91 when I bought it. And she went to trade it in because she needed something bigger. A3 Quattros are not really known for being huge cars. And she went to trade it in, and the salesman gave her an insultingly low number. And in fact, I called the salesman. I told him, I said, look, I don't care how much you give her, you're going to give her this. And the guy goes, or what? And I said, or I'll buy it. And I remember the salesman kind of smiled. I heard him laugh on the phone. He goes, oh, you'll buy it? And I said, yeah, why not? Right? And the guy's like, let me get back to you. So basically that night, I was sitting at home and I was doing all this research. And I knew that I loved the MQB platform, which is the platform that Golfs and GTIs and some of the Skodas, I forget the name of some of those cars, but or the Seat Cupra, I think. Anyway, but I knew that I really liked this. I really liked this platform, and I knew that it had a lot of tuning potential because I'd been racing with guys who were very fast, and that's what I want to be, is very fast, right? Anyway, so I found out that the A3 and the S3 and the RS3, along with the TT, actually, are all on the same platform. Everything is completely modular, right? If you like a wheel from a GTI, pull it off and strap it on an S3. Doesn't matter. Same thing with R, same thing with all that stuff, right? And so as I was doing the research, I'm going, man, this A3 Quattro is a Golf GTI with all-wheel drive, with better weight distribution and better aero. I'm going, if that salesman calls me back, I'm going to be a pretty happy guy. So anyway, that is how it happened. The guy calls me the next day and goes, well, Mr. Congratulations, right? You now get to own an A3 Quattro. And I'm like, sweet, right? So anyway, I'm now going to do an overlay of all the racing I've done in this car, and it's astounding. I really kind of, time got away from me, not going to lie. I did so much. I autocrossed with it, a lot of autocross with it. I did some track cross events that I really enjoyed, and just drove the wheels off of it. And the car was great because I could finally race in a class that I was passionate about, which in this particular car's case was D Street. So D Street means it has to be bone stock. Literally the only thing you can do is a tire and a wheel. So we put on some 200 treadwear cheater slicks is what I like to call them, and just got busy. So raced the car a bunch. It was super competitive. My best finish was second out of like 13 guys on D Street and girls. A lot of really excellent girls I raced with. And that was that. And so as the car kind of matured in D Street, I kind of realized, okay, hey, I'm ready to build my dream TT car, right? I want it to still be remotely streetable. The plan is not to daily drive it. I never did daily drive this car. I've got other cars that do that, and maybe we'll talk about that in another episode or whatever. But that's kind of where we got into with the A3. So now, congratulations. That's where we get to start the episode, I suppose. Is now we get to kind of walk through the process of turning this car into my TT dream car. So let's get started. All right, so let's have a quick look at this thing, right? A3 Quattro, nothing special. It's a 2016, which makes it an 8V chassis model, right? There's not much to look at. It is, for all intents and purposes, a mom car, right? And which makes sense because you guys just learned the whole story. I'm not going to try to front, right? But the key badge that we like to see here is this right here, right? 2.0 T Quattro, right? 2.0 T is the EA888 engine that came in all of the GTIs, all the S3s, the Golf R, all that other fun jazz, right? But your kicker, right, is Quattro, okay? The S3 is kind of a ripoff of a car. I'm not going to lie to you, right? Because all they really did was copy the Golf R powertrain and put it straight into an A3. The A3 Quattro, on the other hand, didn't get all the fancy suspension stuff, but just basically got a smaller turbo. So the smaller turbo from the GTI made its way back into this car, which makes it really nice. Now, I'm a personal fan of the smaller turbo in the A3 and the GTI, and I say that because the torque curve is awesome, right? It allows you to get into boost before you really need to think about it. And trust me, for everyone who's looking at me going, Tanner, you don't understand why big turbo will make everything better. Here is big turbo sitting on the shelf that I pulled off of the R, right? And that'll be probably something we talk about later. But anyways, I know what big turbo lag is like, and on these cars, it is a huge pain in the ass. So when you're looking at autocrossing and you go to a bigger turbo like we just looked at, right, it really just loses a lot of the functionality of the car, right? Because when you're coming out of a corner, your anticipation time is ridiculously long, right? You're sitting there thinking to yourself, okay, please spool, please spool, please spool. Oh, look, it's spooled. And then you're back on the brakes because it's an autocross and it's all stupid wicked tight. So with that in mind, the idea is to keep a stock IS-20 turbo. That is the plan for this car, and we'll go from there, right? So tonight, it's going to be kind of boring. This is just the introductory episode, or at least I think it's going to be. I'm going to get it up on some jack stands. I'm going to get these wheels and tires off. These are my street tires and my street wheels. You can see I allegedly have some more tires and wheels. There's some Audi peelers up there and some other stuff. I've got some race wheels over there that we're going to talk about later as well. But yeah, anyway, tonight the goal is get the car on jack stands, get everything off, and then we can start talking about parts, I suppose. So car's on jack stands, it's all set up and good to go. You can see we've got it off the floor as high as we can get it and all the other fun stuff. And you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, Tanner, this is great. Where do we start? Because you said you have a ton of parts and this is gonna be complicated. And that is a very good question. Because just like you just mentioned, there is so much to do. So I've tried to split the car up into 3 stages. No, don't call them stages. Stages are a whole thing. Sorry, never mind. Phases. How about 3 phases? We're going to split the car up into 3 phases. So the 3 phases that we're going to look at are, first one is going to be horsepower. Okay, we're going to make some power out of this thing. So I'll show you guys here in a second, but I'll show you what the engine's got going on. But there's a ton of stuff going on. So I'm going to put some stuff on the screen here. This is in essence all the things that need to get done for the engine. Some highlights. Intercooler, radiator from CSF, intake's already on the car, downpipe, intake, multi-port fuel injection, low pressure fuel pump, God, more. Motor mounts, needs motor mounts pretty bad, and a whole lot more. Anyway, it's on the screen. You'll have read it by now. Anyway, so there's a lot to do. I'm not really sure how I want to start. We could pull the bumper cover and go from there, but long story short, I think we're going to just kind of play it by ear. Once the horsepower stuff is done and the tune is on and all the other fun things are all finished up, the plan will then be to focus on suspension, right? So let's talk about suspension. Alrighty, so for all of my competitors in D Street who thought I was cheating because I was so fast, I think it might be a skill issue because you can tell there ain't nothing other than stock in this car, right? These are the stock shots, stock struts, if you will. Sorry, they're McPherson struts. And I am proud to say that this car has 140,000 miles on it. And these are literally the stock struts. So I think we got a lot of use out of them. Everything was pretty cool. Same thing with the brakes. These are literally non-vented rear brakes. They're pretty unimpressive. But anyway, so the plan after we get through all the horsepower stuff is the suspension stuff. And for the suspension stuff, I've got some super trick parts, right? Let's see, this is one of the part boxes. We're gonna lay this out and make it look nice and pretty. But in essence, rear camber arms, lower control arms, shocks, struts, springs, remote adjusters, Oh, brakes. Brakes is going to be sweet. I'm going to show you guys what the brake system is. The brakes are going to be awesome. Honestly, if I was being smart, I would probably just put the list on the screen. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. So now you can kind of see what the suspension is going to look like. We have got some super trick front brakes, ironically off of an Aston Martin. They are legit Aston Martin Vantage DB9 brakes, right? So those are sitting in a box over there, and they're going to bolt up with some adapter brackets that I found. I've been doing a lot of research on this thing. So anyway, so that is the plan for, I think, how we're going to attack it. I think the first plan for tonight likely is going to be to start to pull apart the front of the car, just so we can start looking at the intercooler and the radiator and all the other fun stuff. Also, if anyone was doubting whether or not an Audi is a Volkswagen, you can look down here and see my nice, beautiful puddle of coolant, which we will also be fixing now that I think about it. So anyway, one day at a time, right? Alrighty, so let's have a look at this dirty thing. This dirty thing right here is a 140,000 mile EA888. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I've worked on this engine just over the span of me owning it to do preventative maintenance and things along those lines. Like you'll notice it's got a brand new PCV. This is actually a Mark 8 PCV off of the new Golfs. For a long explanation on how that works, there's a guy named Data Driven MQB who is just an absolute hero. You can see that we've got that modified to fit that system. We've also done a carbon clean, which is just pure, flat, simple, basic stuff. And apart from that, bone stock batteries, and I threw an intake on it like literally 100 miles ago because it sounds nice. So that intake is obviously going to support us as we start to make some horsepower. But if you looked at this thing, like these engine mounts are so cooked, right? And the whole thing is pretty gross. Anyway, so you'll see that as we kind of work through this thing, it's going to definitely get spruced up quite a bit. Now, you'll have undoubtedly noticed that whenever I showed off those two mod stage sheets, or sorry, phase sheets, we're not going to say stages. But as I showed off the phase sheets, that some things were blurred out. Now, I am super excited to build this car. I have been doing research on it for probably 2 years now. And there are things that I had to spend a lot of time and money, even in some senses, to source, find, figure out how it works, so on and so forth. So I'm going to keep a couple parts to myself, just so I can maintain a competitive edge, because you and I both know that it's really easy if your competitors just look up your stuff and see exactly what you put in your car to either replicate you or try to be angry and protest and so on and so forth. So I got to keep some stuff close to the chest, just like Smokey Unique did back in the 60s. But yeah, that's kind of the basics there. So like I said, we're going to tear into the front of the car and talk a little bit more about what the plan is once we get done. Alrighty, so very quick, you can see the intake is out, the intake baffling system's all out. Shockingly, these cars get a lot more open as soon as you start to pull some of this stuff. But that's going to pretty much where we call it tonight. Not going to go too crazy. In fact, I actually need to watch a YouTube video. I've worked on the Golfs pretty extensively, so I know exactly how the front clip comes off, but it's pretty different on the Audis. I was kind of surprised by that. So I get to go home and watch some YouTube videos and figure out what's going on there. So anyway, that is going to be it for this episode. So if you like the build and you're interested to see what comes next, I am more than excited to show you guys. I really want to do one of those big part layouts, so I'll put all the parts on the floor and I'll kind of walk you through what's going where and all the other stuff that I can mention. So yeah, that's going to be it for now. Hopefully you like the content. If you do, like, subscribe to the Low Altitude Motorsports YouTube channel. More of this is going to come along with some videos once we actually get out on the racetrack. So Low Altitude Motorsports, like and subscribe. See you next time.